All right, good evening. We'll call the City of Norwich Zoning Board of Appeals for Thursday, November 10th. We'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Roll call, Greg Schlau,
Present.
Bob Phoenix,
Present.
Dave Martin,
Present.
Dottie Travers.
Right here.
Dottie, can you unmute if you're not? Second time, Dottie Travers. Rich, did you hear from her at all before? I saw she was logged on.
No,
She's logged on. She's logged on, so I'm not sure.
All right. We believe her to be present. We will confirm as the meeting goes on. If you could send her a text or something, if possible, Rich.
Okay.
Mark Benjamin present. We do have a quorum with or without Dottie. We do have a quorum. We do not have alternates to seat. All 5 members will be voting on this. Communications.
None other than the new communication, which is part of the application for the response to the referral to CCP.
Okay. Okay, acceptance, and that's in the packet, correct, Rich?
Correct.
All right, and it'll be presented during the applicant process. Acceptance of the September 13th, 2022 meeting minutes, if I could get a motion.
motion to pass the minutes unamended. Greg, second.
All those in favor will accept as presented. Greg,
Bob Phoenix, aye. Dave Martin, aye.
Dottie Travers. Hearing none. Mark Benjamin, aye. Motion accepted. 4 affirmative votes. Old business,
None.
new business.
New business. You want me to read the legal notice?
Sure.
Okay. Notice is hereby given, the Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a hybrid virtual and in-person public hearing for the following application at the regular meeting on Thursday, November 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in room 335 at the Norwich City Hall, 100 Broadway, Connecticut. For remote virtual access to the meeting, refer to the login information listed on the agenda, which is posted on the city website. And this, the application is V2207, is 159 Forest View Drive, aka 214 Ferguson Avenue Extension. A request for a use variance to zoning regulation section 4.1.1 conformity requirements to permit the use of the property for development of additional previously approved dwelling units in the existing condominium development within the business park zone. Property of Forest Land Investment LLC, application of Forest Land Investment LLC, assessors map 34, block 1, lot 38.
Okay. You have, somebody tried to ding in on a phone, Rich. I don't know if that's possibly Dottie.
Yeah, I see a phone here. It's not muted. So
Okay.
I don't know.
Dottie, are you on yet? Okay.
No, 1 second. Nancy,
I know who that is.
okay, is it it's not a
No, it's
Okay.
it's a member of the public.
public, okay, so.
Okay. Rich, do you have anything for pieces to add to the application? You need to add to the record?
I will go down the exhibit list here. Bear with me 1 second. So we have the Forest View application. We have a appraisal of the property submitted by the applicant. The abutters map, forest map, the map geo mailing labels, the abutters map, the referral response from the CCP, the site plan with a highlighted area which shows the area of discussion from the original plan, the original copy of the original site plan. There's a small snippet of the plan, just this area, and then we have the agenda and legal notice.
You have to accept amendment or something? No?
No.
Okay.
You gotta go back to full screen.
That it, Rich?
That's it.
All right. Dottie, are you on? All right. I am not convinced Dottie is on. So without her being able to talk or, be heard, I'm going to offer the applicant the opportunity to continue this. Because at present, in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, we only have four actual members.
I'm seeing if anybody's got Dottie's phone number with them.
Oh, I don't have it, no.
If you want, if you can give me a second, I'll track her phone number down and try to physically call her.
That's fine if you just want to take a 2-minute recess.
Yeah, if that's okay with everybody.
That's fine with the applicant.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do this.
You want to Google her name and see if I can.
I'll just log into my computer over there and grab it.
The only person's phone number I had was Peter.
I normally bring
I
the
still have his number.
whole list with me.
Yeah, his wife Bonnie still has it. So that's the only phone I still have. I should change it from Peter to Bonnie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many non-working phone numbers I got on mine. I really generally just go through my phone, they go, like, I don't use the contact anymore. Some people I just run into them. I keep it in there, and right now I'm doing everything with my father, with a bunch of different people from Harper Healthcare. And I have more numbers from them in my phone than shake a stick at. Yeah. Well, as soon as they're done, everything, wipe them all, I'll get rid of like 10 contacts. Yeah.
This is so small on my screen.
I'm sorry. I should have stopped that. Nice name. The natives are restless outside. Yeah. This is over.
I'll open it up on my other screen, so I gotta switch to that screen. Dual monitors doesn't work with a single monitor here. Let's see.
Oh, yes, oh, good. Yeah. Good. It does. Thank you. This is for. You know who's finally breaking around? The thing is, veterinary hospital. I can't remember. Oh, right. They're finally working on it one side. They were on that one side. They couldn't do it, so they went to the opposite side. They're finally doing it now. Yeah. That's my bet. Yeah. And he's got the shell built. Yeah, the office is built.
Dottie.
He's got finish on the wall. Oh, really? And, yeah. Wow.
Okay, you can't hear us and we can't hear you. So, I'm gonna put my phone on speakerphone and we'll see if that will work. Okay, hold on. Can you hear everybody?
Uh,
Somebody, Mark, say something, see if Dottie can hear you.
Dottie, can you hear and see the screen and see what's going on and being presented?
Hear him now, yeah.
Okay,
Could you see the screen too?
I think.
it'll do that.
Can you see the screen too, Dottie?
Yep, I can see the screen,
Okay,
but the sound I wasn't getting.
okay.
Well, we get you now.
Okay.
Well, between the phone and that, we got it.
So I think we're good there. I'm gonna go back to my Zoom. Okay,
All right. For the record, Dottie, we're on the roll call. Roll call, Dottie Travers.
Here,
Okay. So we do have five regular seated members. All will be voting on this. And we are hybriding a hybrid application, I guess. Okay. All right, so Rich, we've made the presentation. Could the applicant please give his name, address for the board and explain to the board what we'd like to do?
Mark Block, present on behalf of the applicant. My office is at 138 Main Street in Norwich. And I'm here on behalf of the applicant for this request for a use variance for the property owned by Forest Land Investment LLC at Forest View Estates. So first, I just wanted to apologize to the board. This application was filed once before, and through some scheduling error, I forgot that the hearing was that night and never made it. And that application was denied, and I thank the board for allowing us to reapply without waiting a year on it. So basically, the applicant is the owner of the remaining development rights for 24 units at Forest View Estates. And I think the plan, which is part of the record, shows the location of the property off Ferguson Avenue. And the area in yellow comprises the 24 units, which are units 19 through, I believe 42 H. The development, which was developed in 2002, is developed as a common interest community. And the parcel was originally part of the then industrial park zone. And the zone permitted residential use to a certain percentage within the park. That zone was changed at somewhat later after Forest View was approved and the new business park zone was passed. And the business park zone eliminated residential as a component of permitted uses within the zone. So now, without having developed these 24 units, we are prohibited by the zoning from constructing those units. So in support of our application, we've submitted the grounds for appeal, which is attached to the application, which says that this is a combination of factors. One I've already cited to, which is the business park zone restriction, which does not permit residential. Is that disturbing anybody?
No, just only you.
I thought the dog was objecting. Now, further, the declaration of Forest View Estates says that each unit is restricted to residential use as a single-family residence, professional pursuits,
A single-family residence is defined as a single housekeeping unit operating on a nonprofit, non-commercial basis. Therefore, the property as it remains, the common interest community, is usable only for residential purposes. So we would be prohibited from developing the area of the property that we own for commercial purposes, which would be permitted uses within the park. So we claim that the hardship that we have is not self-created. Also, we would like to point out to the board that the zoning regulations in regards to hardship in section 7.10.1 says that the board shall have the power to determine and vary the application of regulations owing to conditions especially affecting such parcel and not affecting the district in which it situates as a whole. This particular issue is one that impacts only the applicant because the residential limitation is limited to this common interest community and these 24 units. Further, under hardship, section 7.10.2 says, 1, no use variance shall be granted where a dimensional variance would relieve exceptional difficulty. This is not that case. Number 2, no use variance for a business use or an industrial use shall be granted in a residential zone. We're not applying for a business within a residential zone. 3, no use variance shall be granted for an industrial use in any business or special zone. That's not this case either. And number 4 says a use variance shall only be granted where the use variance, the private property, would be rendered valueless. We've submitted to the board an appraisal performed by the Reese Appraisal Company dated October 22nd, 2022, signed by Mr. Howard Russ, who is a certified real estate appraiser and consultant. And in his report, it says, I'm looking for the sentence. On the bottom of page 2 of the report, it says the zoning regulation change made subsequent to the approval of the subject condominium complex, but before completion of all residential units has been rendered land earmarked for the final previously approved 24 units as valueless to the owner of the development rights. The owner of the development rights is the applicant, Forest Land Investment. And the bottom of page, top of page 3, it says, granting a use variance would restore the inherent underlying value of the permitted 24 units. So in other words, what we have are development rights that my client has that they can't use without a use variance. The property, therefore, what they have is we can't use it for any other purpose other than residential, and it's valueless if this hardship, this use variance isn't granted. So that's the basis of the application, and we believe that literal enforcement of the regulations is not appropriate, and that a variance is warranted in this situation. We don't wish to use the property for anything other than what it was originally permitted for, what the declaration allows the property to be developed as, and without that, all you'd have is the open space up there that has no value to the applicant as the declarant. So we're asking that the board permit this use variance on behalf in the case of the hardship, and that we be permitted to use the property for its residential purpose as for the construction of 24 units declaration of Forest View Estates.
Does the board have any
Just-
questions?
I just have one other comment. I know this went to the CCP,
Yes.
and the CCP had, on the first application, rejected it and denied it with a negative recommendation to this board because there was what the board at that time viewed as a reasonable development opportunity there, reasonable other uses. And at that time, this appraisal was not presented. The second time through, the CCP came back and has said with a negative recommendation that we said no the first time, we're saying no this time. And I don't know that, although the appraisal was submitted, I don't know if they had an opportunity to view that. It has been submitted to the CCP, but the decision in the minutes don't indicate whether they looked at the appraisal or not.
Okay. Greg, any questions for the applicant?
Actually, I know that this isn't a normal one, but, what took 20 years to get this moving? I mean, if this is a land, from what you're saying, is it's landlocked, it can only be used for residential, but it's taken them 20 years to bring this to light.
Well, Forest Land Investment was not the original developer.
Okay.
Forest Land Investment bought the property,
So this is,
I want to say maybe 2015, 2016.
okay, so Forest View Investment, they're not, this won't be a condo association, the investment company will be actually in control of all of these units,
All
correct?
the Forest Land Investment could only build what the declaration allows to be built there.
Right,
Can't build anything else. The units would then be, since it's part of the condominium, the unit owners would then be part of the association
with Forest View, or without.
with the Forest View Condominium Association. So my client, once they build the units, would intend on selling them. The ultimate end
Okay.
user would then be a member of the association.
Yeah, hey, Greg?
No, I'm good for the moment, thank you.
Bob?
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. I don't know so much as I have questions because I really know the answers to them, but I just want affirmation of my observation of this. The existing condominium association and in its controlling documents has what's called a declaration.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, as part of the declaration, which is cited in part of the appeal, the declaration documents state that no homeowner, no owner of a condominium unit will use his property for any nonprofit or any non-commercial basis, but will allow through the condominium association authority home professional pursuits. That's in their declaration.
Correct.
All right. As I understand a condominium association is a business. It's an incorporated business, of which the current condominium homeowners or the condominium owners are members of the association. In fact, they are members of the board of association. Is that correct?
There's a board, not every unit.
No,
owner
it's
is a member
board,
of
but the unit members are shareholders
Right.
and directed by that board. Okay, and the board's the mandated actions of the boards are dictated by the declaration.
Correct.
All right, so what we do have in fact here is a business, so there's a couple of chinks in the appraisal, where they declare that it's not a business because the developer is going to develop property and then turn the property over to the individual owners who buy the unit, who then will become part of the association, which is a business.
If I can just, by way of explanation, the Common Interest Ownership Act, which governs condominiums and condominium declarations, establishes that each condominium development shall have an association,
Right.
which shall govern and manage the condominium project. So you're
Built
technically,
condominium project.
they haven't built it,
They haven't built this part yet.
but once it's built and it's declared, the developer has to declare an association and all of the unit owners become members of the association. So in that sense, the association is a business, but it's not the business that that declaration is speaking to. What the declaration says for the unit owners is the unit owners can conduct a home occupation out of the unit.
Well, I think that's really the bylaw, isn't it? And the declaration is what the unit owners receive from the developer once the last unit is sold.
The unit owners receive the declaration when they buy the unit. Each unit owner or buyer is presented with the declaration and what's called a public offering statement, so they can review the rules and regulations of the condominium.
And
The association then has bylaws which dictate how it operates. It's got a president, vice president, you know, what a normal, like a library board would have.
Sure. Understood. Okay. So that's part of my first objection with this is that that this really is, while it's pre-development, it is being controlled by a company that really has nothing to do with what will be the entire association upon its completion if a variance is granted. That was my first issue with this. My second issue with this is, has the developer approached any environmental authority to mitigate the encroachment of the 100-foot wetland buffer that they intend to build on?
We haven't approached anybody yet because we don't have any permission to do anything yet.
Okay, so that's going to be a back-end issue.
That would be the back end issue with any site plan or building plans that have to be submitted to the city, that we would have to obey any buffers like any other builder contractor would have to do.
Okay. All right. Those were my two observations for the moment. So, Dave?
So the current owner, you said purchased this in 2015, 2016.
That's my memory.
And when did this zone change have occurred before that? Isn't that, so they bought it knowing that it was, that this zone restriction was in existence? Isn't that, you follow that? The change occurred, didn't the zoning change occur?
If they purchase, yes, but I can't speculate.
In other words, when did our zoning change, going from you can allow it to build residential and when you couldn't?
Do you know when that?
I think it was before 2015.
It was before 2015. It was
Yes.
after 2000 and, matter of fact, I think it might have been as close as 2004.
I was,
I think it was within 2 or 3 years of after the project was approved.
yeah, I'm thinking,
So,
I was thinking 2007.
Yeah,
There was-
so, your answer, yes, my client purchased his interest in this after the, zone change had occurred, whether he was aware or not aware.
wouldn't that be due diligence and you would come before the board when you're in the process of making that purchase and getting
It-
the variance at that point in time?
If he was aware, yes, it would have been a due diligence issue, but it would have been the same argument back then that it is now. The argument wouldn't have been any different. It just would have been made at the time of purchase rather than years later.
I mean, it seemed to me like the current owner, it is self-induced. Yeah, sure, yeah, you can.
Just to build on what Dave asked, 2015, 16, somewhere around there was the first date. The applicant, who is the applicant?
Forest land investment.
Forest Land Investments. And what is the name of the association?
Forest View Estates Homeowners Association.
So did the homeowners association sell the land to Forest View Investments?
No, I believe that Forest Land Investments bought this property out of a foreclosure. I believe Chelsea Groton Bank had foreclosed a developer, and that my client bought the units from either at the foreclosure or directly from the bank.
Okay, so was the association in receivership?
The association is a separate entity, organization from the developer. The association is a non-profit corporation that the developer, the original, I can't remember who the original developer was, sets up.
Sure.
To manage the association. It has nothing to do with the development itself.
Okay, that is foreign to me because the only reason I'm making note of it is it's foreign to me because once a condominium development has been turned over to the association generally owns the land, which is understood to be common areas, while the individual unit owners own the interest of the interior of their units. So the association, in my mind, has always been responsible for the exterior of the building and all the land it sits on. So I'm kind of confused.
The only correction I'll make is that within the declaration, the declarant, the company that is the developer, and my client is what's called the successor developer. When the bank foreclosed whatever remaining rights to declare units existed. And when my client got it from the bank, he inherited that right. So even though the association owns the land and manages the land and owns has the obligation for the common elements, the declarant rights, the rights to declare units exists as long as it's allowable within the declaration. So the right to declare the 24 units still exists. So that's what my client is seeking to exercise, the rights to build those remaining 24 units.
I get it.
Whether it's now years later after he got it from the bank today.
Okay, thank you.
Can I, Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I try to kind of clarify in a simple manner? So
Right, please,
what we're
Rich.
dealing with So what we're dealing with is not the land itself, we're dealing with the development rights that are privately owned
Of the buildings on the land.
of the buildings that have not been built yet. So for instance, you buy a house from Greg, and when Greg sells you the house, he retains the rights to build a garage on that land. And then Greg, in turn, turns around and has the rights to build a garage on your property, turns around and sells that to me, those rights, then I have that right to build. So it's not the land we're actually talking about, it's that development right that is out there on the outstanding.
Oh, that was part of the declaration.
Right.
And this is what,
Thank you, you made
this is what the
it a
developer.
lot easier to understand.
Try to.
Okay, I get it. That's very good. I appreciate that. That
So,
makes it clear as much.
So they have the current owner really is the current owner of the development rights.
Correct.
Which are part of the
So
declaration.
who physically owns the land?
The land was declared, technically it would be the association that would own the land.
And condominiums are strange
Oh,
because
they are.
for like taxation purposes, there's no taxation on the land itself.
Right.
Because inherently the value of the land is calculated in the value of each and all of the individual units. So in theory, the person that holds these development rights, I guess, would also be a member of that.
Which is why in the appraisal, it says that the rights that my client has without the ability to build is worthless, which falls within the hardship exception to the zoning regulation.
Who has the ability to change the declaration?
You would need to change the declaration, need a vote of, I believe, at least 80% of the unit owners to change the declaration.
So the association or the members thereof could vote to change this restriction and eliminate it so that something else could be built on it. Am I understanding that correctly?
In theory, yes, if you can get an 80% of vote of the unit owners, they could change that section of the declaration to change the ability for uses, yes.
Dottie, any questions?
Yeah, I hear you. I've heard everything.
Or do you have any questions for the applicant?
What's that?
Do you have any questions for the applicant?
No.
Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant? Attorney Block, is there anything else you'd like to add before I open it up to public comment?
Thank you, but I have nothing to add.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this appeal? Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Hearing none. Is there anyone to speak in opposition? Any opposition? Any opposition? Rich, everybody that's on is not muted, correct?
The Nancy Lozier here is muted. I've asked her to unmute if she wanted to speak, and the phone in is not muted, so no one has spoken.
Okay.
What's the, I'm just not sure if that's correct. What's the little red thing with the next to her name?
That means that she's on mute.
She's
Oh,
On
muted.
her side.
I can't see from here what it
Yeah,
is, so I
yeah,
had
yeah.
no idea what it was.
Yeah, she's on mute
Oh,
on her
okay.
side.
I can't see what it is. I see it's a red.
Yeah.
And then
For the record, I see Nancy Lozier is on. Is there anything you'd like to speak about, Ms. Lozier, before I take it from public comment? Hearing none. Is there any other questions from the board for the applicant?
Opposed? Don't we have to ask for opposed? He did. Oh, he did? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I haven't called for a vote yet, but I'm getting ready to offer. Does the board have any other questions? Hearing
I
none.
don't.
Attorney Block, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we close the hearing to go to a vote?
I have nothing to add.
For people to speak in opposition?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I missed that.
He did say it 3 times in the other.
Yeah, I missed
That woman Nancy.
it. Yep, got it. Understood.
Bob Phoenix, motion to close.
Greg, second.
All those in favor to close the hearing? Greg,
Greg, aye.
Bob
Bob.
Phoenix, aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Dottie Travers,
I,
Mark Benjamin, aye. Meeting closed. Accepted to close the meeting, go right into decision. Rich, can you read that again, please? The hearing.
Okay. Decision and possible decisions of V 2207, 159 Forest View Drive, AKA 214 Ferguson Avenue Extension, request for the use variance of zoning section 4.11 conformity requirements to permit the use of the property for development of additional previously approved dwelling units in the existing condominium development within the business park zone. Property of Forest Land Investments LLC, application of Forest Land Investments LLC, Assessors Map 34, Block 1, Lot 38.
We've heard the presentation of the application, taking exhibits. Could I get a motion to act, please?
Greg, I'll make a motion to, how do we approve. I think that's all we have.
Yes.
Approve, not to open it. Just approve.
Second,
Thank
Bob
you.
Phoenix.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the variance. Greg, your motion, you can open the discussion, explain the hardship, and explain your point, please.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, I will just revert to all the hardship that they've put in here, because it's way too much to keep reading. So I'll just revert back to the minutes that they're in of what their hardship is. Is that acceptable?
As long as the secretary can note it. If you want to use the ground for the hardship as written on the application, I'm fine with that.
Okay, got it. All right, she said she's good with it, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I'm looking at this, and I've listened to everybody. I've listened to Attorney Block, I've listened to members of this board. And I'm seeing a lot of things that I can't say yes to. I'm looking at the appraisal. And Attorney Block made a comment about city plan. And I know last time city plan told us no. City plan again sent us a letter, sent it to the chairman on October 26th. The appraisal company gave their report to Attorney Block on the 22nd. The Commission of City Plan met on the 25th. So if they didn't get the appraisal, it's not, I don't see it as the fault of the city plan. They should have been forwarded to the chairman immediately and been done that way. So as we voted before, the Commission of City Plan says no, and that's the way I intend to vote.
Thank you. Bob?
I go along with what Greg said, especially with regard to the City Plan Commission's decision to not move forward with approval. Also, contrary to the language of the hardship, I am seeing this more as an investment situation that needs to realize a profit from their investment. As we all know, financial hardships are not supposed to, should not be considered to the board. So I will be voting against this.
Okay. Dave?
As I understand it, the applicant purchased the development rights, and at the time that they purchased the development rights, there were basically no development rights to purchase. To me, that's self-created on their part. Due diligence of the zoning laws at that time period should have determined this issue on due diligence on their part. To me, that's it's in addition to the other issues that have already been, that Bob and Greg have already stated. I think that's also an issue.
Dottie?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Greg. I think that I'm voting against it. First of all, there's a lot of issues involved. From what everyone has stated, it's true from a financial basis to the way the original purchase was done on that property. The appraisal is not correct. It should have come in to the zoning meeting so that we would have had it. All the paperwork is not accurate or not done the way it should have been done. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm voting against it.
Okay, just for clarity for the record, because Bob and Greg, you made the motion and cited the applicant's hardship from the application. Are you finding that you disagree with the hardship, or you don't feel there is an adequate one? Greg?
I don't feel it's an adequate one.
Okay.
Yeah, Phoenix, I disagree with the language of the hardship and feel that it's a disguise for the actual lack of a hardship.
Okay. Before I call it for a vote, I was just going to pose one last question to the board. Do you see any value in continuing this application to do your own research and coming back before we call this for a vote? We have the opportunity to continue it, possibly get an unanswered question answered for yourself, or do you feel you're confident with your opinion to move forward?
What are you saying?
Is anybody interested in making this a continuance, or do they want to call for a vote, is what my question is.
Ready for a vote.
Unless you think, would we get any value from going to the council, lawyer?
Permission to speak, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
So there was comments made during the public hearing. Attorney Block testified that the minutes of the CCP did not reflect that the CCP had received the appraisal. I can tell you that Attorney Block sent the appraisal to both myself and the city planner well before the meeting. The appraisal was included in my documents here, and if the members chose to further seek clarification on if the CCP ever received that appraisal, that's up to them.
That's exactly where I was going with the question, not necessarily the corporation counsel, but if something like that were to to weigh into somebody's decision and they wanted to look into it, we could continue. If you feel that the application stands on its own merits and whether that information was considered by CCP, I'm fine with whichever way the board's looking to go.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman, am I permitted to speak?
No,
No, I'm sorry, I couldn't see who it was. Attorney Block, unfortunately, no, now that it's closed, we can't.
it doesn't change my opinion, Mark. It doesn't change my decision, Mark.
Okay,
Mine's not primarily based on that.
okay.
It's only a factor.
Mr. Chairman, when I brought that up, I brought it up only because I was looking through everything and I'm looking at dates on everything. The appraisal date, the date that Commissioner City Plan sent to you, the date the Commissioner City Plan met. All of these seem to be, I don't think they were snail mailed. I think they were all emailed. And emails do not take days and days to be received by somebody. And I don't think that Chairman Manfredi, if he received an email, would ignore it. So I'm sorry, regardless of if the board wants to put it away for another, next meeting, my vote's not changing.
It was just an offer. We have a motion to accept. Everybody is passed. Is there any other comment? Greg, anything else to add?
No, sir.
Bob,
Nope.
Dave? Dottie?
No,
Bless you.
Mark Benjamin, no. A motion has been made and accepted to grant this variance based on the application presented. All those in favor? Greg?
Hey,
Bob?
Nay.
Dave?
No,
Dottie?
no,
Thanks for not losing us now, Dottie. Mark Benjamin, no. Unanimous motion has failed. Other business, Rich?
I have none.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Bob Phoenix.
Greg, I'll second it.
All those in favor to adjourn? Greg? Bob?
Bob Phoenix.
Dave Martin, aye.
Dottie?
Dottie, aye.
Mark Benjamin, aye.
He said,
Meeting adjourned 7:53.
yeah.
Win some, you lose some.
Yeah. You've been watching too much.
He's been watching too many of Michael's videos. I've been doing this too long.
Well, at least thanks for coming to my court looking for.
Appreciate your consideration.